Good evening. Thank you so much for coming to our open evening. I'm going to say a few words, obviously, about where we stand as a school. I'm hoping that will give you some kind of idea about what kind of school we are. You're coming to a really big decision for the people of your children, or if you're a carer, for the people that you care for the children that you care for. So it's a big decision, and it's really important that you make the right one. There's lots of secondary schools out there. What I want to do is tell you about what we are about, what we stand for, and we'll leave the decision for you to make as a result of those things. I'm Martin Henson, I'm the head teacher. I've been here now, this is my 6th year of being in here at the school. I've not worked in Hertfordshire before. Before that I live in London, and I worked in London for the rest of that time. I've been a teacher for a very long time, as you can probably see. 35 years experience altogether in various kind of senior posts for the last 25 or so years. I've got 5 children of my own. I've got some older ones and some younger ones for my sins. And the older ones have all been through the school process. They've all I've sat where you're sitting, and also they've been through school, taken their exams, and gone off and done their various things, either going to work or going to university. So I do have experience of what it's like sitting there, so I empathise with the decision that you're having to make this evening. Okay, so 6 years ago, when I drove up the A1 for my interview, not really knowing too much about the area or too much about Stevenage, I didn't really know what to expect. And when I arrived in the school, I was so incredibly pleasantly surprised by what I found. It's a very friendly place. Inherently, it's a very friendly place. It's a very child-friendly organisation. And that filled me with warmth as I was walking around the school, and actually made me think, gosh, this is somewhere where I really could work. It's the sort of thing, it's the sort of ethos, it's the sort of feeling that I would feel really at home in. And since I've arrived 5 years ago, I've tried to kind of capture that and grow those kind of things that I think are inherently there about the school. Some of you are parents, some of you may even have come to the school. I really hope that we haven't changed that much in the way that we deal with young people and what we try to do with their education. So, research shows that life chances are improved when students develop in equal amounts these 3 things. So I'm going to talk to you. So we've used this as our guiding tool, if you like, as to what we want to try and achieve at the school. And it's thirds of each. So the first thing that I'll talk about in a moment is I'd like to talk about what we stand on, the values, and the values that we try to encourage the young people to have. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Then something that we're really big on in the school is developing them and their character. We think that character is as important as academic progress. We think that getting a job in the future is going to be as much down to the type of person you are as to the qualifications you've got. As I always say to the youngsters when they get higher up the school, your exam results will get you the interview, but your character and your personality and the way you can interact with people will get you the job. So there's skills for living as well as those certificates that we think are really vital at the end of the day. So we've got a particular way that we do that. So if we move on to what we stand for, and of course the third thing is academic performance, which I'm going to talk in a little bit of detail about. At the end of the day, your children will be measured by what they do in year 11, and if they stay into the 6th form, what they do in Key Stage 5 in the 6th form. And indeed, we get measured as a school as to how we perform in that regard. There's league tables and those sorts of things, so we have to be very aware of that. But I do want to stress you, and I guess the first point that I'm making to you, and that's why I've put this up on the screen to get to make the point kind of quite clearly, that we look at those 3 things and they're as important as each other. So we don't do one at the cost of the other. Okay, so we're not an exam factory, but we do want our students to do really well academically, but we also want them to grow as human beings and experience lots of other things. So our school, we spent a lot of time last year looking at this. I'd been here for 5 years, and we decided that we were going to look at this again and say, you know, is the statement that we have, does it represent the kind of school that we are, or does it represent the sort of school that we were 5 years ago? Is it time to have another look at it and a fresh look? And so we went out to a lot of consultation with parent groups, and we talked to students, and I liaised with staff and governors. And this is basically what we stand for as a school in words. So first and foremost, we want to be a happy, caring, kind and caring place. And so this is the sort of school which has order, but we don't, you'll be pleased to know, shout at children or admonish them too much. We look for the positive in young people. We really want to, and it's really important that we foster positive relationships and mutual respect. It's a really important thing, I think, nowadays that we do that, and particularly that respect between teacher and pupil, but increasingly the kind of respect the students show each other. We live in challenging times so far as that's concerned, with things like social media and those sorts of things. We really are very, very proud of the fact that we're a diverse community. We don't shy from that. That's the sort of place we are. Everybody has completely and utterly an equal opportunity when they arrive, whatever background they come from, social class, gender, race, any of those divisions that exist in society. We don't take any notice of those when we come at school. When they come to school, we try to that's invisible to us, and we promote fairness for all in those areas. And that's something that's particularly dear to my heart. And we try as much as we can to celebrate success, so that students can grow academically, culturally and socially. And the most important thing, and our aim really, is that young people leave this school with the ability to lead happy lives. We start off with the idea that all students maybe should go to university, but we know that that's not going to happen. Okay, so if they're not going to university, what are they going to do? What can we do to help them to do what their dream is? How can we get them to follow those dreams? Okay, so we're very keen on helping everybody on their own different pathway. And we call our students Nobelians. You might have seen that. If you're a parent, you will have done. And what do we expect of our Nobelians? What will they be like? What will students be like? What's the aim of what they will be like when they leave school? So we asked the students, and we talked about this with staff, and we wanted them always to be ready for school and respectful and safe around the school. By the way, they're the only 3 behaviour rules that we have in the school. We insist that our students are ready, respectful and safe. We looked at this about 18 months ago, and we realised that we had so many school rules, nobody could remember them or knew what they were, and there were different rules in different places, and so we simplified the whole thing, and we thought that everything you do in school, the right things are encompassed by those 3 simple statements. Students know what they are, staff know what they are, that's the language that we use. So we expect our students to be safe. We expect our students to be ready for school when they come to school. That means bringing the right equipment into school, ready to learn at the beginning of the lesson. We expect them to be respectful to each other and to the teachers and those sorts of things around the school. And you know, I guess most of all, we expect them to act in a safe manner so that everybody else in the school is safe. We think those 3 words encompass everything that's important. We look after each other and we support our community. Hopefully some of the students who are going to speak in a moment will give you a flavour of that. We want our students to be courageous, resilient and responsible role models. Learning, sometimes learning is difficult and you don't always get it first time. What we try to do with our Year 7s, which I'll talk about in a minute, which is to do with developing their character, is for young people to realise that actually education is about making mistakes. If you didn't make any mistakes, you'd know it all before you started. And so the whole idea, great discoveries in science are only made because people have ideas, they make mistakes, they move on from their mistakes, learn from them and develop things. This is what we try to get into students. So we're trying to get into them so they, give them the idea that they shouldn't be afraid of failure. We think that the fear of failure is the biggest thing that holds students back. Once that goes and people are able to experiment and learn and ask questions, We think that's where full academic and cultural and social development comes. We want them to work hard, we want them to have fun, and develop this love of learning that will go with them, hopefully, long after their days of being a Nobelian into the future. And finally, we want to, all of us, including me, it's not good enough what we did last year. Let's look at what we did last year. What can I improve on? So I start that as a head teacher. What did I do last year that I was really pleased with? What didn't I do? What could I improve on? Because even when you get to my age, we can always learn. That's the message, that we should always be challenging ourselves. We want to develop our character, as I've said, and the whole aim is that we achieve success. And actually, success is different for every child. Okay, and that's something that we stress. So, what did Ofsted say? But you've probably read this, but I just wanted to pick out a couple of quotes. What did Ofsted say about our values? It says that we've created a powerful community in the school which reflects the importance of being a Nobelian. I put on the screen before what it was to be a Nobelian. When the inspectors came around, they picked that up loud and clear. It's probably the statement in the report that I'm most proud of. It really is, because, you know, somebody from outside, independent, has come in and we haven't told them about this. They've looked around the school for 2 days and this is what they've picked up. I think that's really, really a fantastic pat on the back for the school. Okay, moving on to character. So what we're going to do, and this is, we've always tried to develop their characters in the school, but we've got this structure now. We're very, very keen on this because we think that, you know, not all students can get A stars in their academic study. We'll be pushing them towards those. They're called level 9s actually now. 9s, 8s, 7s, it's a number system rather than a letter system. Okay, we can push them towards that. But some of them won't quite reach 9s and some of them won't quite reach 8s, and there'll be students who don't quite reach 4s. And sometimes that can be disappointing for students. But with developing their character, we think that we can get a 100% pass rate. So students can get different levels, which is appropriate for their ability, but when it comes to character, we can have a 100% pass rate. So we're looking to develop these things. We want to develop, right from year 7, their leadership skills. We think they're important in the 21st century. We want to help them and develop their organisation. We want them to be able to help themselves to study. We of course will help them, but we don't want to necessarily, when we get to year 11, we don't want to be sort of spoon feeding them. We want them to come home and want to do their homework because they've made the decision that that's what they want to do. That's the most powerful thing of all. Students who do that do really well in their exams, of course. I mean, you'll find out if you haven't got older ones that when they get to about 14 or 15, it becomes more and more difficult to say, go upstairs and do your homework, you know, otherwise X, Y, or Z will happen to you. And so the way forward, I think, is to encourage students to take that ownership from an early age. And part of that is to say to them, what is it that you want to do? What do you want to achieve? What is it that you want to do? Where do you see yourself in 10 or 15 or 20 years? You know, and if you want to better yourself, if you want to do that job, if you've got real desire, if that's your dream, and you want to follow it, then these are the pathways that you need to follow, and this is what you need to do. Okay, and we think that by being organised, students will have a much better idea of doing that. I've mentioned the resilience word, you know, being knocked down and getting up again when things haven't gone quite right. You learn much more from, I think, from failure than success in that way. We want them to have initiative. We want them to have the wherewithal to be able to kind of make decisions. The new GCSE insists that they do that, really, and that's where you'll have read in the press that GCSEs have changed. Well, they have in this regard. You used to, as a teacher, be able to get all the past papers from the previous examinations, and you could just about predict what questions were going to come up in the exam, and you could coach your students to answer that particular question. Exam boards don't do that anymore. They give different scenarios, and they try to throw the students off beam, so they have to think in the exam. And so they have to have those skills of initiative. And if any of you, you know, well, obviously lots of you are out in the workplace, and many of you will have businesses where you employ people. I guess they're the kind of people that you want to work with, aren't they? It's the people that come along with ideas about stuff that are the really valuable people. So we want to encourage that right from the start of year 7. And obviously we want to be able to, and hopefully you'll see with these 4 folk, that we've got people who are very good communicators. They're role models. Not everybody is at this level, but we would like them to be at this level because we think they're the skills that will take them forward. So that's character. What did Ofsted say about our character development? Well, I'd love there to have been more the word outstanding in that report more than it was. I did fight hard for it, incidentally, and we were nearly there on a couple of things, but I won't bore you with that. It does take Ofsted inspectors, and head teachers have long debates about the conclusions that they come to in their reports. But one thing they did agree with us about, which is backed up what I said before, is that the way that students develop and the way that we look after them, the welfare, is outstanding in the school, and it is. Okay? That's not to say that we don't have challenging moments, and not to say that students don't sometimes feel as though, they're being bullied or whatever, but it's dealt with, and it's dealt with sympathetically, and we always take the side, of the person, the more vulnerable person in that position, and we deal with it, I think, really, really, really well, so that young people feel comfortable about coming to the school. Okay, academic performance. It's difficult for me to stand up and say, oh, well, progress 8 is this or whatever, and it will take me another half an hour to explain progress 8 to you. It's a minefield. There's all sorts of stuff. Head teachers don't really like it, if I'm being honest. Okay, so the thing that's solid from one year to the next are the number of grades, well, at least from last year. So, no, I'm not. What I'm doing here is comparing us with national this year. So basically, level 9s, 4% of all of the grades in the country last year were awarded at 9, and we got 5% as the Nobel school. 7 to 9s, we can see the stats. I don't have to go through it. So it says that by a bit, but not by a small bit, we're a bit better than national, which is good. So I'll put some green arrows on there because that does indicate that we're better than national on those stats. That gives you some kind of idea about what we're doing here. Okay. And if we move on to English and maths, you can see that the national data's in brackets. We really do rather well in English and maths. And so in all of them, particularly on the higher grades. Now I'm really chuffed about this. Because if I'm being really honest, the examinations last year, we were disappointed with the number of 7s and 9s that we got. And we set ourselves some targets to work with the higher attainers in the school, those students who were going to get 7s and 9s, because we didn't think it was a fair reflection of the students that we got into the school, and we made huge strides. I mean, for example, in maths and English last year, there were only 3 9s in the whole year group in maths and English. There were 24 this year, so it's a huge difference. We focused in on those students, and we made a difference. And we think we've got that taped now. Just to remind you, the new system of sort of the 9 to 1 scale only came in last year. So there was a lot of kind of experimenting with what it really meant and what you had to do as a teacher to get students a 9 or whatever. We've learnt by that, and we're now getting the highest grades for students, which is really pleasing. And again, I've got some green arrows for you. In the sixth form, I've just got some headlines for you. And this is the end of the day, at the end of the route through the school where students get there. Most of our students stay on. They either follow academic courses or vocational ones. All the students who were in the sixth form last year are either working, doing higher level apprenticeships or university. None of them are doing, have fallen off the scale in that way. All are doing something purposeful. For the first time, I'll let you, as I speak, you can read that, but I'll just pull out one thing. The first time in the school's history, we did over 100 UCAS applications, which means there was 100 students in last year's upper sixth, in year 13, who applied to go to university. So we've never got to 3 figures before. That's phenomenal if you think, so round about just under half of all the students that were in this school when they started in year 7 ended up going to university. And all of the other ones either got a job, had an apprenticeship, or have gone on to further training. I think that's really impressive. And just to draw your attention, this fully comprehensive school in Stevenage And you read a lot about Oxbridge entry and how difficult it is to get into Oxford or Cambridge if you don't go to private school or whatever. There are some towns in the north of England where it's been 6 years since anybody in the town went to either Oxford or Cambridge. Well, we send students every year from Nobel, and we had 2 last year. One's going up to Oxford to read physics, and the other one's going to Cambridge to read natural sciences. We're strong on STEM subjects in the school: science, technology, engineering and maths, very strong. And that reflects the town. The town is a sciencey town. Lots of the jobs in the, if you go down to Gunnell's Wood, you'll see lots of the jobs there are involved around the high-tech industry, and that's good for the town. The other thing that we're really good at is health and social care, which is great because lots of students do a vocational course in health and social care because, of course, I didn't know whether you know, but the biggest employer in the town is the Lister Hospital. So we've tried to tailor what we do around what the town has and what jobs there will be when students leave school. And we did get one student going to a university in the United States, which we thought was fantastic. And we like this because we liked stories like this, In the past, the male-dominated engineering area, Airbus, which is, as you know, well in town, had never given an engineering place to a female. I thought it was quite amazing myself, but for the last 6 years, one of our students became that first person. We have other students who have, various subjects, ICT, etc. And where are we with achievement? 20% of the grades were A star or A. Half the grades were A star or B. 75% of the grades were A star or C. This is all a long way away for you, but I need to tell you about this because academically, we're very successful. We have students every year going to the very best universities. And that's where we want all of you young people, if you're sitting there, we want you to sit there and aspire to that. Okay, because that's really important. Okay, and we had success in our various applied courses as well, the various vocational courses. Okay, what did Ofsted say about academic performance and the sixth form? It says that we've established a culture of raising expectations at all levels and that we're relentless in our focus on improvement. We are. We don't let it lie. We carry on. We never think we've got it taped. We always think that we can improve. And, I've looked at this year's examination results forensically, and I know where we've got to look and where we've got to improve those for next year. So there's always a feeling that we're moving to the next year to improve what we do and encouraging people to do that. And, the leadership of the sixth form is outstanding, clear vision. It speaks for itself, really. And that was the area of the school that they were umming and ahhing about making outstanding, which was disappointed they didn't. In the end, they said, look, Martin, it's close to being outstanding, but it's very, very good. And I said, no, it's not, it's outstanding. And we could have gone all evening, but in the end, we agreed to differ on that one. But, it's a really top-class sixth form with lots of students. Incidentally, 300 in the sixth form, lots of students coming from elsewhere in the town to join our sixth form. 40 or 50 every year coming from other schools in the town. So we've become a kind of hub for sixth form A-level advanced study in the town, which is really, really lovely. Okay, now, that's me. I'll come back and I'll say something just to close in a minute. But what I'd like to do now is just to hand over to the students, and they're going to say a few words about their experiences in the school. They'll give you a much better picture, I hope, than I've been able to do, because they've experienced it. So we've got people at both levels, students who have just joined us last year, and students who are in the upper sixth who are about to, finish their year and go off to university. So without further ado, Erin, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I would once again like to welcome you to our open evening, and I hope that you are all enlightened by everything that Nobel does have to offer here. So I am standing here as a newly transferred year 13, but I can remember looking around secondary schools like it was yesterday, and that was in fact the best part of 6 years ago. One thing I won't forget is the feelings of almost worry and fear that I had from moving away from a primary school environment and going to a secondary school, because it's one of the first more independent environments that your children will be subject to. But Nobel is an amazing support community. From day one, your child will be cared for and treated as an individual, and they will never be made to feel like they're alone. Another thing as well is the opportunities that your child will be introduced to here. From year 7, I have been introduced to so many extracurricular activities, I don't have enough fingers and toes to count them all. For example, I was introduced to rugby in year 7 and I enjoyed it so much that I have not stopped playing for the last 6 years. Another thing is this school does care and support for students. Whether you've got worries about your academic issues, you're having friendship troubles, you can speak to anybody here about almost anything, which I think is lovely because some students don't feel like they can open up to people. And I think as well, if I didn't receive the level of care and support that I needed last year during my GCSEs, I wouldn't have done quite so well. So combined with my teachers' efforts and my own personal drive to succeed, I managed to come out with 10 A-star to A grades last year. So, I could stand here and list all of the opportunities and things that I've been introduced to at this school, but I feel like we'd probably be here for quite a while, and I feel like it would probably be more beneficial and probably even more rewarding for you guys to listen to your own children speak about the things that they've been introduced to at the school. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Katie, who's just recently transferred into year 8, and she's going to tell you about her first year as a Nobelian. So over to you, Katie.
So, good evening everyone. My name is Katie and I'm a student ambassador, but more importantly a Nobelian. Nobel is a truly amazing school with a variety of impeccable opportunities. For example, I had the opportunity to perform in the Nobel dance show and the opportunity to help Year 7 settle into the life here at Nobel. Nobel's teachers are highly qualified and so supportive. They will always try their best to help you achieve the excellent things, as long as you're willing to work hard, listen and try your best. The education here is very important to us here at Nobel. It is key for success in life. Being a Nobelian will help you fulfil your dreams for the future. I am very excited to continue my journey throughout Nobel and I look forward to seeing you start yours. I hope you all have a good evening and enjoy your time here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katie. My school experience has been very fortunate. I've been given a tremendous amount of support and guidance from all the members of staff, which resulted in me building a great relationship and great support team around me, both academically and extracurricular. However, I could give so many examples of the things I've done from year 7 through to year 12, now starting year 13. But the 3 of my main ones is probably the support I was given during my time at GCSEs, because I took part in both bronze and silver Duke of Edinburgh Award, because as Ms Henson previously said about building a kind of something else instead from the results which you can take to uni. I thought that was a great idea, so I decided to do that. But I don't think I would have done that if it wasn't for the help I got from teachers, because to be honest, I wasn't very organised at the start, but teachers made sure I was organised and made sure I got my homeworks done in a nice way, which made me want to do it and made me want to learn. Also, extracurricular. In year 9, got introduced to athletics. I didn't know what that was before. I was never a runner, didn't really want to do that much. But however, now I'm lucky enough to compete at national level and going across the country to compete. And I'd never would have done that in my dreams if it wasn't for the staff here who pushed me and encouraged me to do that. And also, finally, my GCSE results. To be honest, I did find things hard. I did struggle sometimes, but I could easily talk to teachers and easily get their help in interventions after school. They had no problem helping me and giving me extra work, which could help me improve without being all horrible about it, which was a really, really encouraging thing. But now in year 13, I really look back and I think it was a really amazing school and I'm so pleased to have gone here. I'm currently doing sitting my A-levels and yes, it's stressful, but I've kind of had my first experience of stress during my GCSEs and I just think it didn't go too badly and I had the help I needed. So I really feel really comfortable and really positive that I'll do well this year as well. But that's enough from me. Now I'm going to hand you to Moyen, who's going to explain her experiences the first year being at Nobel School. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Moyne and I am also a student ambassador. This school is great and I assure you that your child will surely enjoy their time at Nobel. With good behaviour and very good learning, I promise you that by the end of the year, you will be so proud of your child. Sports in Nobel are very good. There are a variety of them for your child to choose from, such as football, netball, rounders, rugby, cricket and more. I participated in quite a few sports like athletics, rounders and netball. But not only are there sports clubs, this school provides many different clubs like dance, drama, art, maths, debating and so many more. Teachers in this school are amazing. They really are. They provide you with the support you need and they are always there for you, whether it's an extra hour after maths or you just generally need someone to talk to. They will always give you good advice, and if you've ever forgotten your tie or equipment, they will always give you what you need. Overall, this school is amazing, and I guarantee your children will have a good time making new friends, learning new things, and having fun. Thank you all for listening, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Absolutely promise they wrote that themselves, each of them. That's their words, absolutely to do with them. We have rehearsed it a couple of times, but I asked them to do that last week and that's what they came up with. That's a genuine reflection of what they feel about the school, I promise. Okay, we're nearly done. So, I think you'll have done your research probably. You might be a parent of students who already come to the school. You'll have talked to people in the community. There may be neighbours who send their children to the school. Might I suggest that that's an equally good way of finding out about us? I mean, you can listen to me in a sense making a pitch. What I'm doing is putting it out there. This is what we're like as a school. But ask people, and I'm sure mostly they'll give a really good positive response about what we're like as a school. You know, we ask our parents. We put out a parents' survey every year, and you know, it's always very high, but last year 98% of our parents said they would recommend the school to other parents. I'd like to know who the other 2% were and talk to them about that, but 98% I think is really, really a good statistic. The vast majority of students are like the four here. They tell us, we ask them every year, we have a student questionnaire, they tell us that they like being here. Staff like working here. And you know, in a time when it's quite difficult to recruit teachers, we've got a full complement of very skilled teachers with very honed skills. And you know, we don't have any gaps, we don't have any supply teachers. All of the teachers are subject experts who teach here. So we're very lucky, but we do a lot of work on recruitment, and we try to make people feel that this is a nice school to work in, as well as a nice school to come to. And finally, I guess what I'd say to you is if you want to be part of this, and the one boast that I do is I do describe us as a lovely school. You'll have to come to your own conclusion about that. You know, I'm still here, I love working here, I look forward to coming to work every day. It's a great place to be with lovely children and great staff. You know, if you fancy joining us, and if you want to do that, then please send in an application. Don't be put off, please, by, you know, rumours that you hear there's loads of people that apply to the school or whatever. You don't know if you won't get in unless you apply. We encourage everybody to apply. There's always the possibility that you'll get into the school, and then after that there's always the appeals process, and there's always opportunities for people to come to the school. You know, we want students to come here who really want to come here, and parents who really want to send their students here, because that makes a very powerful partnership. The partnership between home and school, if it's really healthy and really good, makes all the difference. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you so much for coming in, and I'll be around the school a bit later if you want to ask me any questions, but thank you for coming.